Okay, good morning. My name is Vince Turner.
And I'm Clio, his wife.
And for many years, we've been running what we call Just Looking sessions for people that perhaps aren't Christians or not sure if they're Christians or sure they're not Christians and certainly don't want to be, to just talk through the reasons that we have for thinking that actually this is the best thing since sliced bread. It may be you've got loved ones, a partner who's really into the whole Christian stuff, and you're just skeptical, just think, look, really, is there anything in this? And if you're in a place of coming with, may I challenge you and say an open heart rather than a closed mind, I think there's lots of things that we can say. There are a whole lot of people, a whole lot brighter than me, maybe you, who have approached this subject from quite a resistant point of view. One of the greatest academics of this country, C.S. Lewis, triple first from Oxford University, the author of the Narnia Chronicles, he described himself as the most reluctant convert ever. Someone that was quite instrumental in my understanding. He was a very intelligent law student, was fed up with the born-again Christians coming and banging on his door saying, "Can we tell you about Jesus?" And he thought, well, I'm going to research this, so next time they come around, I'm going to be able to refute them well. And he set out to find out about all the museum records, documentary evidence, historical records, so that he had some sort of concrete thing just to say, look, this is just another fable. It's just another ideology. It's nothing more than a thought form. And in the process, he rather reluctantly realised that there was much historical evidence that would, in a sense, verify the claims of Christianity. He, not surprisingly, became a Christian himself. He's been an evangelist for many years, talking to other people about this. So if we get a bit excited sometimes, I know it can come across as being a little bit intense, it's because we think that actually this has got value for you. I've been a pastor for many years, and I've seen the difference that Christianity has made to people in terms of their own relationships, in terms of their self-confidence, self-esteem, in terms of even their businesses and things like that. That this isn't some thought form that wants to denude your personality and somehow make you into a Christian clone. But I would say now, it's the way we are built, that however wonderful you are, great you are, what a lovely person you are, if you can actually get to know the real fuel that makes us alive and with a relationship with God, I think that's an enriching thing, not something that's going to denude you of your personality. It's almost the opposite. God knows the people he's made. He likes us. He's made us that way. And when we come into alignment with that, then there is a richness and fulfillment. I do get it if you're skeptical. I grew up on what I call churchianity rather than Christianity. So at school, we did chapel for an hour on a Sunday morning. I knew when to stand up, sit down. I could find my way through an order of service book. But really, that was it. It was religious. What I mean by that, it was a sort of a man-made activity to appease a distant God. Didn't affect me, my personality, my identity, didn't affect my week in any way, shape or form. It's quite comfortable. It was quite nice. I considered myself a Christian, but that was all that's as far as it went. When I went off to university, I thought, well, I'll go along to the Christian Union. You try everything, but a rock climbing, bit of fencing. I'm a Christian, aren't I? Boy, those guys were weird. They had like big Bibles and read them, and I thought that was a bit intense. And they talked about Jesus as if he was a real person, and that was a little bit weird. They had really undesirable tasting clothes, and I fled for the hills. I ran the other way because I thought, well, I'm certainly not like that. I started going along to a good teaching church, which I could kind of, because I was an engineer, I was a scientist, I needed a map, I needed evidence, and that was all really helpful. But I remember they'd say, please stay behind for teas and coffees afterwards. Well, again, I was off because I had this sense they were trying to get you into the fold, trying to trap you in some way. And I wanted to work it out for myself. But for me, reading through some of the stuff I mentioned in C.S. Lewis, the Mere Christianity, I'm not suggesting you necessarily read it, but for me, a logical build-up of looking out the window at the world we see, the endemic levels of pain and suffering, and we'll touch on that a bit in the next video, thinking, well, if there's a good God, why all this stuff? Is there any evidence? Is there something here that is worth really basing your life on? I came to the conclusion that yes, this isn't just a leap of faith into the dark, but really it's a small step, and in one sense, a logical step into the light. I made that step many, many years ago. It's totally changed my life. It's changed our relationship completely. And it's just, I'll get into superlatives because it is the best thing. And I know that won't persuade you, but I just want to reassure you that if you're sitting there thinking, not sure, how can I trust this thing? There are many other thought forms, religions, ways of life that vie for your attention. But Christianity isn't just based on some teachings or some ideologies or some thought forms. It's based actually on events. And those events either happened or they didn't. And if they happened, that means they're relevant for every man, woman and child on the planet. And if they didn't, however nice Christianity is, and I used to be a bit superior and thought sweet little Christians running the old age people's group and the youth group, very nice for them, but really is there anything in it? If those events happened, and I'm centering in on the life, the death, the resurrection of Jesus, then it changes everything for everybody. And I think you're going to give your life to something. It might just be worth taking a few moments, watching these videos, talking to other people, maybe do an alpha course or whatever, a bit of reading, to think through, is there anything in this? Because if there is, and you come with an open mind, not a closed heart, it will rock your world. Clio.
Hey. Well, thank you. My story is a little different from Vince's. My boyfriend at the time, when we were teenagers and in our early 20s, was a very logical person with quite strong self-esteem. I was somebody very different. These broadcasts are going out during the time of COVID-19, so the whole world has been rocked recently. I started out life quite rocked, not knowing who I was. Apparently looking fine on the outside. I came from a prosperous and loving family. Inside, the fact that an outsider had come into our family home and abused me sexually when I was a tiny child, that fact had changed deep things inside me, and I felt those things were irrevocably changed. I had never known what it was to feel good about myself. I had never known that it was actually possible to have peace. At almost a cellular level, I felt messed up. I looked fine. I was actually quite popular and successful on the outside. But at the deepest places inside, I didn't feel good. And if I'm sharing my story with you, even a taster of it today, I would say that nothing else could have changed this person except knowing the love of God for myself. Nothing else could have made me this established, happy 56-year-old woman with a great relationship with my husband, 3 fabulous kids, one of whom is disabled, to have that deep sense of security, peace, and power to give love to other people, than the truth that God loved me enough to die for me. So I wasn't skeptical in the way that Vince was as I approached Christianity and thought about it for the first time really as a young woman. I was perhaps skeptical in almost a deeper way. I could see that it could perhaps be true that Jesus did come as God's own self down into this world and show us how to live, and then at some level beyond our understanding pay the price for the fact that we've all walked away from God himself in order to reconnect us to God's heart. I could understand theoretically that made total sense. I could understand intrinsically that there was a God. I felt there must be more than just what we see. This whole beautiful world, however broken, must have purpose. It's so gorgeously designed, although it's fallen. What I couldn't get my head round was, could it actually work for me? that was the big stumbling block for me. It wasn't so much intellectual, it was more core. If it was true that God loved even me enough to die for me, then if I trusted, if I put my weight on that truth, could it really hold me when I felt so very deeply damaged? And I guess my life has been the testimony that it can. That it isn't just me wanting to believe something that's nice. It's actually that God really did love me and all of us enough to come and let the damage mess him up, so that his deep love of humanity could be the wholeness that makes us solid. And as I've learnt to understand and trust the love that is shown by Jesus, and find out at the very deepest level of my being that I'm worth so much, my life has slowly but surely been transformed. Yeah, that's my 2 penny worth.
Wonderful, thank you. And if you're at all intrigued by this, then we really can show you what you can do to access the same thing. It's not some mystery that, God might suddenly appear to you one day, but there are things you can do.
And explore and find out about.
Which will really help. The next video, we're going to look at why the world's such a mess if God's so good. Then the next one after that, we're going to be looking at God's purpose for your life and for all of our lives. And then lastly, we'll look at the 4 reasons that people stumble about coming into Christianity, the 4 things that stop them becoming Christians. We've found really there are only 4 main categories. We'll explain what they are and what to do about them if any of them apply to you. But for now, God bless.
Thank
Goodbye.
you for watching. Bye.